Hello everybody, welcome to another watercolor tutorial. I am quickly taking some tape here because I am thinking this might be easier for us. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just taping, you know, like the pointed part of a heart. That's what I'm trying to tape out here. To make this easier for us, but I think I'm going to draw my circle first. Not a circle, my heart. Just so that I know where to put my tape. This. I want it nice and big. So I'm just taping like the bottom point because we're gonna be doing something like a certain technique. It's just gonna be so much easier for us if we don't have to worry about staying within a border at the bottom. So what I'm doing is just lightly erasing my circle so that I can barely see it. The reason why that is not erased is because the tape is over it. So what we're gonna do now, I really hope my daughter doesn't wake up because this is kind of a thing where you can't stop until you're finished. So I'm covering this circle with a layer of water, and mine has a slight pink tint to it. That is partly because there was already pink on my paintbrush, and partly because it is much easier to see where you've already painted your water if you have some kind of color to go off of. So that's about good. You want to make sure that it's nice and wet, but the moisture is evenly distributed. And yeah. So that's good. And you have to start working quickly here now. So I'm grabbing a smaller brush, and what we're gonna do is paint, like if you've seen any of my other like moody pine tree tutorials, where I use this technique, we're just flicking darker paint from the bottom upwards. And now you can see why we utilize the tape. It's a great assist in not worrying about keeping that bottom in a heart shape, like a point. You just have to worry about the top, obviously. So don't go too far up. Oh my gosh, why do I do that? I literally do that in every tutorial. Like the one part of my finger that has a tiny bit of paint on it, naturally, that is the part that has to touch the paper. And just, I can't, I'm annoyed, if you can't tell. So anyway, you can like alter the types of pink that you're using for this part. Like I'm using a magenta and a kind of like a maroonish red to do this. And you just keep going until you're happy with it. And you want this part down here to be fairly dark. So I think I'm gonna add a little bit of black just in this bottom section. Grab some more magenta. And so I want to paint something on top of this heart, but I don't have an idea of what I'm going to paint. So this is inspired by an image I saw on Google, but the issue is that I didn't see a reference. So if you recognize this painting and you know who originally painted it, please let me know in the comments, and I will be sure to add the credit to my video as I do with all of my references. So yeah, I'm just adding more black. I really want that because as soon as this dries, it's not going to be very dark. And I guess you could re-wet it and do like a second layer. I just don't know if I have time for that because my daughter might wake up. I said this in a previous tutorial because I'm kind of bulk painting. I already got one done miraculously. So if I can get a second one done before my daughter wakes up, it'll be a lucky day. Usually I paint on the weekend when my husband can watch her and occupy her. But I just, sometimes like I feel like I do nothing in a day because I'm taking care of her, and I'm very goal oriented, and sometimes when she's just crying a lot, it's not that she's a very easy baby, so it's not that she cries an excessive amount, but obviously I can't paint when I'm holding her. So I was trying to even this out, but I do not recommend doing what I just did because I am 50% sure that that's going to cauliflower. And plus we want this to be nice and light, and now it's not on that side, which is a bit annoying. So yeah, I don't know if I said this in this video or if it was the other video, but it is Friday and I just want to get something productive done and have Saturday off because my mom is visiting. So once you're happy with the opacity, the darkness of your colors, we're gonna wait for this to dry. And I just realized that, you know, if you go outside the lines, you can always touch this up with acrylic paint, or if you have like a whiteout marker and you can just go around it, by all means you can do that. Now I would typically use a hair dryer right now to speed up this drying process. Okay, I took a chance. I used my hair dryer on the low stance, and we will find out in the next 3 minutes if my daughter has woken up from that. So what we're gonna do now, once this is totally dry, is paint. I've decided I'm just going to paint swans. So I'm using my size 00 brush here, and I have white acrylic paint. And actually, you know what? We should probably pencil this out for ourselves first. So I'm gonna go a little closer for you guys. So our swans are going to be in the water here and here in the center, and they're gonna come out like this, and then, sorry, you can barely see these pencil marks probably, but I would encourage you to just look up a silhouette of a swan and use that if you don't want to freehand. I barely even penciled these in, I just did the necks so that I had a rough reference for myself. So This is actually turning out quite nice. And miraculously, my daughter, I don't think she woke up. But I think that's because we had a pretty rough night. She is typically an amazing sleeper. Like, she has slept 3 hours at night at a time since she was born. And recently it's been like 4-5 hour stretches at night. So, but last night I think she just had like a blockage in the intestine area because she would not be soothed or calmed down. Like, she just was crying and crying and crying from 3 until 5. Sorry, no, she wasn't crying that long. She was fussing for that long. I kept putting the soother back in her mouth, and then she'd fuss more, and eventually I'm like, okay, maybe you're hungry. She didn't want to eat. And then this morning, 3 blowouts occurred. And if you don't know what that is, then you're lucky. No, but it's her. Basically, it's when a baby poops so much that it overflows the diaper and it comes out of the diaper. And that is what happened 3 times in a row. But, and it's always this, and this might be just too much for YouTube, but when I hear, because typically you can hear the sound of the bowel movement coming out, and to me it has become such a satisfying sound when I hear her pass poop, because I know that we're good. Like, she's not gonna have a fussy night. And yesterday she didn't pass one, so I knew that we were in for a treat. It's never been that bad where it kept her up all night. I don't know if that was even on the camera, I'm sorry. So what I'm opting to do for these swans is just kind of flick out the feathers like that. And I'm using very cheap acrylic paint here, which is why it's not looking too hot, but you can certainly use better quality stuff. I'm gonna have to go over it again because you can see the stuff underneath. Like, it's not completely opaque. So another thing I'm gonna do is just add little ripples. So that there's kind of a reflection for these little swans. And yeah, I don't know what I was gonna say. Oh, I think my point was, for my story, I think my daughter is sleeping so much right now because she didn't sleep her usual like 9 hours that she sleeps at night and in total. And so now she's kind of probably really tuckered out and getting those hours in now, but I'm worried that that's really gonna throw our nighttime schedule off if now she starts sleeping. You know, so I'm gonna wake her up as soon as I'm done this tutorial to feed her, and then hopefully that'll keep us on track. So I should have painted those swans way bigger because they look kind of small, and I'm actually tempted to like splatter paint as I do. Oh, you know what would be nice if I had like white branches coming out. Do you know what I mean? Like white deciduous branches. But hold on, let me just flicker this snow on. So I'm taking my white acrylic paint. I'm watering it down a tad, and then I am making it snow onto my heart like that. And yeah, I think I am going to just paint a branch, like a deciduous tree branch on here. Because why not? It'll come out like this. It's a little more challenging to paint with acrylic paint. I should have painted the branches first, because now when it goes on top of the snow, it doesn't look very nice because it kind of gets bigger in those areas. The branch does. So I'm just using my quadruple zero. It's definitely more challenging to paint really detailed, thin tree branches with acrylic paint. Like I would have already finished both sides if this was watercolor. But it's not as easy. And it doesn't look as nice, honestly. I'm gonna have another one actually coming from the top, just to add a little bit of variety. I kind of don't like how this looks in acrylic paint because I can't get the branches as uniform and like thin and delicate as I do with watercolor. I'll have maybe one more just coming from this bottom section. Another idea is to paint lightning. Instead of like just a big lightning bolt coming down. Just an idea if that's something you want to attempt. But yeah, we'll just keep it like that. What I'm gonna do is dry, I don't know if acrylic paint even dries that well with a hairdryer, but I'm gonna dry this just so I can go over the swans again. Okay, so let's do another layer on top of these swanios. Another thing you can do if you are not one for these intricate details like these swans or even the tree branches. I haven't thought of this before, but you could just print out a white silhouette or a silhouette and then cut it out and then glue it on. Like just glue on paper. That is a really good option if you want to do a little bit of collaging, mixed media. Okay. So I think I'm happy with this. I'm gonna just, I feel like I should, the snow that I sprinkled on is barely even visible anymore. So perhaps I should do just a quick sprinkle of that. So there we go. I'm gonna peel that tape off. And you can leave it like that, or you can just touch it up with paint, with white acrylic paint like I mentioned earlier, just to round out these edges a little bit, make them a little softer. But the only thing I think I really want to fix is the point up here. Okay, there we go. So I think that is not too bad. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hit subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.